I promised myself I wasn't going to get too rah-rah. But after cancer, courtrooms, strippers, and all of this madness, somehow, some way, the Washington football team are your NFC East champions. It was ugly. It wasn't ideal. But honestly, I couldn't bring on two better people to talk about our first division crown in 5 seasons as the lovely Hilary Banks and the troll of Watch Football Team Twitter, Keith, join the show to revel in our victory, misery, whatever you want to call it. It was bittersweet, but we are division champs and we are looking on to Tampa Bay. This episode of Washington Brawl is uncensored, people. Had a little bit of alcohol in the system, got the juices flowing. It's provocative and completely uncensored. So do not say I didn't warn you. But before we get started and give you the episode you've all been asking for, let me ask you one question, Washington Brawl listeners. When was the last time you shaved your balls? When it comes to men's hygiene, Manscaped is as good and safe as Antonio Gibson in a PPR league. As you see here, the Lawnmower 3.0 is the best hygiene tool for the modern man because of the ceramic blade and skin-safe technology that avoids any nicks and snags. This is the perfect protection you need for your franchise quarterback. The LED light on it, which makes it a complete game changer. They also just released their Shears 2.0 nail kit, which is the perfect add-on for the Lawnmower 3.0 trimmer. No one, and I mean no one, likes an ungroomed set of feet, fingers, most importantly, balls. That's why they have forever changed the grooming game with the Perfect Package 3.0. Their Perfect Package 3.0 comes with a new and improved Lawnmower Performance Boxer briefs. I'm wearing them right now. They're silky, they're smooth, they're great. Also comes with a travel bag that you can use whenever we are finally done with all of this damn quarantining. Also included in the Performance Package 3.0 includes the Crop Preserver as seen here and the Crop Reviver. The Crop Preserver, my personal favorite, is a ball deodorant anti-chafing for your sack that ensures that your afternoon stroll does not end in swamp ass. The Crop Reviver, on the other hand, is a spray-on toner for your sack made with soothing aloe and hazel extracts to give your testes a boost. For a limited time, Washington Brawl listeners, subscribers not only get one, but 2 free gifts. The Shed Travel Bag, which is a $39 estimated value, as well as the patented high-performance anti-chafing Manscaped Boxer Briefs. Washington Brawl listeners, that is 20% off plus free shipping using promo code BRAWL Brawl at manscaped.com. Join the Manscaped family today, Washington Brawl listeners. Your balls will thank you. Now let's get on with today's episode.
Football is here, and so is your shot at millions. Thanks to our partnership with DraftKings, all new players can play free for millions with your first deposit. Here's how it works. 1. Create your DraftKings DFS account and make a deposit. 2. DraftKings will credit your account with free entry to these contests. 3. Draft your lineup and go for the millions in top prizes. Just go to dkng.co/brawlpod to play. That's dkng.co/brawlpod. Act quickly. This offer won't be around forever. Minimum $5 deposit. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
After an emotional roller coaster and quite frankly, a shit show, we have witnessed the Washington football team becoming NFC East Champions in the most 2020, 2021 way imaginable. If you can hear my voice, I've been screaming, I've been yelling. First time in 5 seasons, the Washington football team is advancing to the playoffs, finishing 7-9 under Coach Rivera. This is, of course, the Washington Brawl Podcast. I'm your host, Parker Hamlet. We are mere moments after the primetime matchup with huge playoff implications where the football team, I think I'm just going to come out right and say it, guys, survived.
Yeah.
really no other word I can think of other than survive. But joining me to do so are two very special guests that I am stoked to finally have on the show after all this time, and I'm grateful that they're awake right now. First, Hilary Banks. Hilary, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for having me.
And also the troll of Washington football Twitter. There's no other way to introduce him. Keith. Keith, how you doing, man?
I'm hanging in there. I'm hanging in there after this big, exciting win.
Hey, I know I'm trying to be more excited. I'm excited, but I don't even know. I don't know. Go ahead.
I feel like we're all kind of having to force it a little bit.
A little bit.
I'm not gonna front. I mean, you don't get me wrong. I just bought the division champ T-shirt. I'm a shameless plug. I'm a sellout. But at the same time, that was quite frankly the ugliest football game I think I've ever seen. There's really no other way to put it. I mean, it just felt like both teams were dragging to the finish line. So I'll start with you, Hilary. How are you feeling after the win?
Drunk. I really thought we weren't going to win it. There were several times where I was like, fuck it, we're going to lose. And I think if Sudfield, is that his name? That's Keith's favorite quarterback. Him coming in helped us. It is. Keith loves him. Him coming in helped us. Penalties hurt us. Off Alex, that worries me going down the stretch. If there is a stretch, even into the next game, you can tell he's just not right. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm totally forcing it. I'm happy as hell, of course. Maybe tomorrow I'll feel a little bit more excited. But yeah, we won.
I mean, we're literally mere moments after. I guess if I see a couple more graphics, I'll be a little bit more excited about it. I'll feel that playoff feel throughout the week. But at the end of the day, you talk about Alex looking like he was dragging. Antonio Gibson didn't look the same.
Yeah.
We got one good play out of Terry McLaurin, enough to drag us to the finish line. Keith,
who did look good is Cam Sims. He looked good.
Yeah, I think Cam's definitely earned his roster spot to this point. There are a couple young bucks that can hopefully keep us above water. Keith, you're kind of known as the quote-unquote negative Nancy of Washington football Twitter, man. I got to get your take. How are you feeling after the win? Washington football team's NFC East Champs, man.
Listen, this reminds me, what was it, in 2015, 16? I don't remember what fucking year it was. We lose anyways. But the Kirk Cousins days where everyone was excited when we went 7-9, and then we went in, played, who was it? It was Packers, right? We got thumped by the Packers. Man, this is just this shit all over again. I mean, listen. I for these young guys, I'll say this. My stance is sure, get a taste of playoffs, see what it's like, have something to shoot for next season. I'm all for that. But at the end of the day, we're about ready to go play Tom Brady, and I don't give a shit what anyone says.
We can beat him.
Stop it. I saw a tweet that said we want Brady. No, the fuck we don't. We barely beat Nate Sudfeld.
Yeah, there he is. That's his name, Sudfeld. I always want to call him something else.
And it's a Tampa team that is clicking on all cylinders. AB's twerking in the end zone again. Mike Evans is hurt, but I mean they're clicking on all cylinders, man. We don't fucking want Tom Brady. You're absolutely right, but continue.
Oh God.
I was just going to say, no, we don't want Tom Brady. I mean, it is what it is. But, people think, our defensive front's going to get to him. Maybe so, but at the end of the day, he's Tom fucking Brady.
He's still going to throw touchdowns.
Yeah, the guys got the Super Bowl championships for a reason. So for us to win a division title at 7-9 and barely got that to begin with, to go in to think that we actually have a chance against Tampa – are the biggest raw fuckers I've ever seen in my entire life. And people are drunk right now. See, people are all excited. They're drunk. You're saying stupid shit right now. And so I'm sober, right? So I'm here to bring everybody back to fucking earth. Okay. So
you're blowing my high. I mean, like, come on.
Oh, well,
it's not that high. I'm not
having to force it.
I am.
Right. No, but seriously, I mean, again, when it comes to these guys getting a playoff berth and seeing what that's like, and, it's probably not going to go our way, but, they at least get a taste of it. These young kids are hungry, and it's going to give them something to be motivated for next season. So I see nothing wrong with it. Keep it going as long as you can.
They just released the division champion shirts merch already. It says one not done. To me, it should be for the culture, because to me that is the best thing that's going to come out of this playoff push. Is that Rivera's first year in, he owns up to what he says he's going to do. I mean, I was very critical of Rivera. A lot of people were very critical of Rivera 2 months ago. You got a lot of people who are dipping back in old tweets like, oh, well, you guys never believed in Ron. It's great nonetheless. Ron comes in, changes the culture. You're in the playoffs first season, whether the NFC East is crippled or not. At the end of the day, it's good for the young guys. Like you said, you could tell Chase Young wanted it more than anybody on that field. Every single play, 99 wanted it more than the other 10 guys on the field. Every single play. So it's great for the young guys. Cam Curl, all of them finally getting a taste of playoff football. Like I said, there's definitely a lot of question marks going into next week's matchup. I really don't see us matching up well against Tampa Bay, home, away, non-mobile quarterback or not. We just got to be realists here. Honestly, I will say I am relieved that they won the game, because, we would never hear of it. And quite frankly, if you put any other team in the situation, whether it be the Eagles, the Giants, the Cowboys, if they squeaked out the East like this, you already know what would be happening all over all social media platforms. It would just be showering them with praise. Do you feel like this only feels underwhelming because it's the Washington football team, Keith? I mean, the kind of reputation we carry. You heard Chris Collinsworth. You heard Al Michaels.
I feel it's underwhelming because of our record. I mean, no one's really, taking us seriously. And I mean, after tonight's performance, how could national media take us serious? And, that's just me being honest, so, watching this game and then trying to compare it to what we're going to deal with next week, that's we're not going to have national media on our side. So, we're not going to get the respect that we think we deserve with a 7-9 record. And that's just facts.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that, even though everybody is excited about the playoff push, I'm excited. I'm glad they squeaked it out. There's plenty of good things that come about it. You're still dealing with a team that finished 7-9 in a division full of just underachievers, injuries or not. And that's something that the Washington football team is not going to be able to shake. It's going to be something they're going to have to fight tooth and nail. I definitely see the comparisons to the Green Bay season. We lost to Cheeseburger Eddie at home. Guy's not even in the NFL anymore. He made his ass look like Marshawn Lynch. And, we not only did we limp into the game, we're limping out of it too. Well, like I said, Gibson's not getting didn't get as many carries as a lot of people thought he would. Terry played maybe 6-7 snaps. And Alex is a whole nother conversation that we will definitely get into, people. But let's start at the top. What is it about these big games? You guys have been fans 10 times longer than me. What is it about these?
You just called us old, Keith.
He did.
I mean, look, I'm just speaking facts.
No,
we're going to be realists here. Let's be realists here.
Yeah,
What was up with the fucking officials tonight? There's no other way for me to put it other than that. I mean, they were constantly keeping Philadelphia alive. I hate to be that fan that points to the refs, because, I mean, quite frankly, we did play like dog shit. There's no way to get around that. But, I mean, Philly's down 10-0. 4 penalties lead them to their first scoring drive. And like I said, I hate to sound like that guy, but how much did you guys feel like that really factored into how the game played out?
Well, it did, because Holcomb had that holding call, and then the Eagles scored. I mean, I think it factored in big time. Was it really a holding? I don't know.
I mean, for me, it's just like people are so critical of Cole Holcomb, but he's that guy that really comes down and makes all those big tackles you need him to make, and he does get those penalties. But we are playing a full contact sport here.
Right.
You go to the NCAA, you get ejecting. But to me, Holcomb's come down and makes those big plays you need him to make. Keith, how did you feel about the officiating throughout the game?
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you're going to make penalties, at least make them football move penalties, to where these football move, a lot of times, I don't even know how they call some of these penalties, because when these guys are in full motion, you can't stop full motion. It's really about what you do with your crown and arm wrap and tackling. And if these guys are going to get penalized for doing that, fine. I'll take a penalty. And I don't want a dumbass penalty, but I'll take those penalties any day. But I used to say, even last year, back when we had the Redskins name, that the name was so controversial that, the refs wanted no part of that either. And I used to feel like if the ref had a personal opinion about what they thought about the name, is there real proof or a way that we can tell that they're making a call one way or the other? And now coming into this season, obviously we don't carry that name anymore. So we're still getting penalties called on us. So I don't really have an answer for that. But, one thing is I'm not going to condemn guys for making football moves. I mean, we're making rules these days that are protecting everybody and everything. So you just got to take what the refs give you. And if you're a good team, you're going to get past those penalties is the way that I see it.
Exactly. And, as much as I want to blame the officiating crew, I feel like there's some inconsistencies. I felt like JD was kind of a defenseless receiver late in that game. I feel like they hit Alex low a couple of times. I feel like you could have thrown those flags on them. The sole flag, they get 2 flags in this game. There's the encroachment, and then there's I think it was on a kickoff or a punt return. It was very non-memorable compared to all the penalties that Washington endured early in the contest. I agree the football move is very vital. And, Jalen Hurts, you had Chris Collinsworth and Al Michaels sucking him off all night. I'm not going to compliment him anymore, and I have to. But Jalen Hurts is a very smart football player, and he knows when to give himself up. But in my opinion, he was giving himself up at the last possible second to kind of draw those penalties, to kind of put the Washington football team in that position. And to me, like you said, you don't know this officiating crew. Redskins Act podcast posted something about how Washington does not have a good record against the officiating crew they dealt with tonight in prime time. And, it definitely felt like it was playing a factor early and often. This felt like, Hilary, to me, correct me if I'm wrong, this felt like a game that they could run away with early.
Well, yeah, I mean, the first half or the first quarter, they had no penalties, and I was just like, what the hell? This is just my team. I mean, so, yeah, and then it just went downhill from there. So,
yeah, just nothing was going Washington's way. Football is a very momentum-based game, and I just felt like after that first drive by Philly, they just kind of knew their formula, and they stuck to it. And I think if Jalen Hurts plays 4 quarters of football, we'd be talking about a very different outcome here.
I really do, too. I'm telling you, Sudfield, is that how you say it, Sudfield?
Close.
He helped us. It's close. He helped us win that game.
Okay, hold on. Well, I got to ask a question. Keith's the Sudfield guy. What's the story with that?
Okay, so, everyone by now, well, for most people who follow me on Twitter, they know that RG3 is my boy. I haven't been to his house for Thanksgiving yet, but I'm working on that. But anyways. Yeah, one step away. But, I got his cleats. What's next after that?
Right?
Thanksgiving, right? But anyways, long story short, I've been pretty bitter with the whole RG3 Kirk Cousins. I was never a Kirk Cousins guy to begin with. Then when, Kirk got the starting job, RG3 was out. And then we draft this guy, Sudfeld. At this point, I would have liked anybody. If they would have drafted, Dick and Balls would have been the guy that I would have been rooting for. I wanted anybody but Kirk Cousins at this point. But as it was obviously, I wasn't truly a Nate Sudfeld guy, but I was just hoping that at some point, if Kirk Cousins wasn't our guy, could Nate come in and do something? He never really did, but that's where that story came from. So pure bitterness. How about that? I'll admit that.
I knew there was something. Keith, that drew me to you. I remember one of the first tweets I saw about you. It was you. Okay, on Twitter, I think there are the 106.7 guys, and there's the anti-106.7 guys. There's those guys that are like, oh my God, Kirk Cousins is the best thing since sliced bread. All those unseasoned tweets. I feel like you were the outlier. You the opposite of that. Is that fair to say?
Oh, that's 100% fair to say.
Okay, and that immediately drew me into you. To me, there's a lot of bitterness with the RG3 situation as well. I can't get rid of his jersey. I'm honestly kind of jealous you have his cleats. To me, and let's go ahead and transition over to Alex, right? Do you feel as if this, because of everything that's going on with Alex, do you feel as this fan base has kind of an unfair emotional connection to him? I mean, to me, you're talking about Kirk Cousins, a guy that never really had this locker room, never really had a story or narrative, or never really controlled the huddle. And to me, one leg or not, Alex does that. Is that something you feel like Kirk lack and Alex brings to the table?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Alex, first of all, when Alex came in, before he got injured, he was 6-3. Fans knew what he was. He was a game manager. And it was one of the first times that we were, up like that in a season. So, fans are going to connect better with that. And then, of course, you have, his injury, in the 17 surgeries and that love story. So, people are more compelled to that situation than they would be for someone like Kirk, who a lot of these Kirk stands found out later on down the road that this guy wasn't it. I personally went to a Kirk event to live troll him with a Robert Griffin jersey on.
Oh my God. I've got a story like that too. I actually showed up to camp every single year he was the starter and called him Mr. 30 million to his face pretty much every chance I had. I don't mean to sound like that fan and sound bitter. I mean, I wanted the Washington football team to win, but that guy was commanding a ridiculous salary, and we know what we're getting with Alex. Hilary, do you feel as if fans kind of have too much of an emotional connection to Alex because of everything he's been through, or do you feel like everything he brings to the table makes it justified?
I think it's both. I think a lot more of it is what he's been through. But like Keith says, he manages the game. And at this point where we are right now, he's the best one for the job to manage this offense. Going forward, I don't know so much, but I think it's both. I think it's what he brings to the table and what he's been through, his story.
Well, we're halfway through this contest, Hilary, and you had a lot of people, because of the way Alex was moving around in the pocket, clamoring for Taylor Heineke.
I was one of them.
And relieve Alex.
Yeah.
You agree with that?
I was one of them. My daughters were saying the same thing too. So, I don't feel like his legs don't look the same. Obviously, he was off. I mean, he wasn't horrible. He did what he had to do. He did enough, but I don't have any confidence in him, and I want to. I really do. I love his story, but I don't have
I feel the same way about Alex as I did coming out of the 49ers game. I feel like we're just adding years and more physical tax to his body with each coming game. We all know he's not going to be under center next year. Obviously, he's not built for the long haul. It's a great story. It's a fantastic story. You know,
right.
Like he said, we start off 2018 6-3. I was at the game. Alex snapped his leg in half. I was there. I saw it. I looked over. You know, same yard line as Theismann. You know, I could have swore that the tribal dances for the game were cursing the damn team.
They did.
It was awful. And the fact that Alex has come to this point, you know, you got your E60. It's a hell of a story. You know, you got Rivera. You got all these things factoring in. Alex Smith is a hell of a story. Comeback player of the year for sure. And I think for us to edge out the division is quite frankly a miracle. Keith, were you one of the people clamoring for Heineke?
I wouldn't say that I had claimed for him, but I would say this game here, I did send a tweet out stating that if our O-line wasn't going to protect Alex and give him enough time to pass in the pocket, that it might be worth thinking about, considering that if he's going to get rushed all game, obviously he can't run. I mean, you could see when he's mobile and getting pressure, running out of the pocket, he's not connecting passes. I mean, those 2 touchdown passes that he threw were straight dimes, but that's because the O-line protected him very well. You know, so that's what you're going to get from Alex. You're going to get dimes like that, and you're going to get great passes like that if he can sustain in the pocket. But the minute he's pressured out of it, forget it. And that's, you know, the scary thing. So, you know, finish him out this season, sure. Let's see how the Tampa game goes. You know, but obviously, you know, next season, I don't think he's a guy that should be in consideration. You know, we can't have limitations, especially this game now. This game is way faster than it was 10 years ago. You know, you need a guy that can be able to break out of the pocket and extend plays. You know, Jalen Hurts is showing some success right now because he can do that. You know, and look, we have a badass, you know, front end, and they were chasing him all game, but the guy was, you know, making plays with his feet, and Alex can't do that right now.
Yeah, you know, no matter how you feel about the Alex Smith situation, it's great that they survived the game. It's great that they're NFC East Division champions. You know, he's comeback player of the year, no doubt about it, but he really tampers this offense. But Keith, I'm going to ask you another question. A lot like you, I thought that Alex needed adequate protection throughout the game. I think there were a lot of instances where guys like J.D. McKissick, Peyton Barber, and Tuna Gibson, quite frankly, our whole running back committee had an awful performance.
Yes, they did.
Another conversation in and of itself. Gibson didn't show up with injury barring. But JD, who couldn't catch, couldn't block any of that, he was you know, leaving Alex to the wolves on multiple occasions. So yeah. I think the biggest thing the Washington football team fans needed to remember, you know, we're in fantasy football season, right? When you're at this point, you're in the Super Bowl, you stick to what you know. And I honestly applaud Rivera and this coaching staff for keeping Alex in the game in a situation where it did not look ideal. He looked like a Statue of Liberty back there. He looked like one good hit was going to take him out. You know, they had Heineke ready to go. So I commend this coaching staff for sticking to what they knew. And honestly, I think the biggest reason that Alex Smith is even under center right now is the football IQ. And those plays he made right before halftime. I mean, that throw to Logan Thomas, man. I mean, that was one of the best throws, one of the best catches I've seen in the burgundy and gold in a long time. But of course, as per usual, we are a bad first half team. Hilary, what were your thoughts going into halftime? Did you think this was something the Washington football team would be able to edge out, or were you getting some similar vibes from weeks prior?
I did feel good until like there was even at 1 minute left on the clock for the whole game. I didn't feel good. I was like, all they have to do is score a touchdown and they win, So no, I didn't feel comfortable the entire time. Not even when we were up by 10 points. I wasn't. Was it 10 points or 14? 10 points.
Yeah, it was 10 points.
I wasn't comfortable then either. That's why I can't get excited, because they didn't impress me anywhere really, except for Chase Young. I mean, the defense was decent and the interceptions, yes, I got excited, but the offense did not impress me at all.
You don't get comfortable being a fan of this team.
No.
Period.
That's it. I mean, you just don't get that luxury. We're not there yet, so even with 2 minutes left, I mean, I'm sitting there and, of course I was DMing you, Parker, like, hey, I'm ready to talk. You're like, game's not over yet. And I'm like, yeah, shit, you're right. Anything can happen, so, that's the thing, you just don't get that luxury as a fan. We've seen too many bad things happen. So you wait until that clock says 0. Then, if you choose to get excited, yippee, get excited, and you move on.
And it's just like the Washington football team was trying to shoot themselves in the foot in the last 4 minutes of that game. I mean, it was miraculous. I was on the Allies Behind Enemy Lines podcast, talked a little bit about Steven Sims, about how he's been muffing punts. That didn't surprise me too much. But just the blatant fumble by Alex with 3 minutes left, I'm like, what are you guys doing? Do you want to lose? Like, the national media hates you already. You've already got Giants fans tweeting like the score is already final, and this team is trying to lose the game adamantly. These are just not things you can do against Tampa Bay and AB and his fucking Avengers team he's got over in Tampa Bay right now. You just can't do it. And let's go to the good side for a second. Jack Del Rio, throughout the season has made some astounding second half adjustments, and Washington football team is definitely a second half football team. But immediately to start the half on offense, we're kicking ourselves. Alex is missing people on mesh routes, open drags. The third quarter was a complete stalemate. I was standing up the whole time, hands on my hips, just waiting for something to happen. And then that shook the football world happened. Sudfeld replaces Hurts at quarterback. Yeah. I'll go to you first, Keith. I know you feel about Sudfeld. You're not a big guy. He kind of earned a name for himself in Philadelphia. Big kid, big arm. How did you feel about Pedersen making that move?
Oh, I felt like right there that was his tank move. They didn't, they came out playing hard, and, put yourself in Peterson's shoes. How do you really coach this game? Because he knows if they win that, they drop in draft selection.
You're doing a favor.
But right. But how do you lay down for a division rival? Let them win the division. And how do you can't. And I think that's a tough thing to coach, because you never want to give the message to your players that, hey, we're going to lay down because, we want a better draft selection. You're basically telling your team we're not good enough. So, but a blatant move. I mean, if he would have kept Hurts in the game, I would have felt like, oh, wow, he's definitely playing to win. I actually would have respected that a little more, even though I'd have been scared shitless. But as soon as Sudfeld came in, I think we all were like a sigh of relief, because we knew what the result, right. Because we knew what the result was going to be. I mean, Sudfeld hasn't played, in years like that, to be able to come in and take a win. And see, and that's the thing too, is I think that's why a lot of people fell in love with Kirk Cousins, because when RG3 was getting injured, Kirk was actually coming in and winning.
Playing in relief.
Yes, playing in relief, and he was winning big games. And so, folks were like, hey, maybe, if this RG3 guy ain't it, maybe this guy, is it. And, sadly, you don't get that with, well, not sadly, but you don't get that with Sudfeld. So, we're watching, I'm thinking, oh, he's done. Like, that's it. Hurts. Like, that's it. He's given up the game. So I was a little shocked, because I thought it was a weird move, because no one was hurt. So, and I don't know if you're aware, but I actually live in Philly. So I was watching the news after the game, and Philly media, was asking Peterson, like, what was the point of that move? And he's, he blatantly lied and said, he felt that Sudfeld. Yeah, he basically said that, Sudfeld, he felt was going to give him the better chance to win, at the end of the game. Yeah, but you know what else is he supposed to say? You know,
I mean,
I tanked. You know, but
Yeah.
it's pretty blatant. And I'm telling you, I can't wait to listen to Philly radio tomorrow. So you guys think everyone's going to listen to DC radio tomorrow?
You don't get that luxury.
Oh, I do. I can do it online, you know, on the phone. But I'd rather listen to Philly radio because they're funny as shit, and I know they're going to call them out on it. And I can't wait to get excerpts from that.
Well, you know, I will say, you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cleveland Browns. The Steelers kind of rest their starters. The Browns advanced for the first time in the playoffs in 17, 18 seasons. Haha, good for them. Feel good moment. But a lot of people are kind of mad that the Steelers laid down for them. You got to rest starters. I completely understand that. But you also look at the Jets this year, you know, call cover 0 against the Raiders and pretty much let them win a game. And it's just there are conversations that are going to have to start happening about quote unquote tanking and moves that coaches are making. And to me, from my head, throughout the week, I heard the reports. I heard, well, Carson might play, you know, Hurts isn't playing the full game. And I'm just like, why? You know, wouldn't you want to play spoiler and stop the football team from advancing to the playoffs after that week 1 ass whipping they delivered to you? You know, they pretty much almost killed Carson Wentz in week 1, you know, so I was just, quite frankly, I was just confused. And I'm sure Philly radio is a complete, you know, shit show. I mean, that's something I'm going to use a lot tomorrow. You're going to hear a lot of different takes. You're going to hear a lot of mad people. You know, you already see Giants Twitter. You got Eli Manning, Darius Slade, and all these people. Oh my God, you know, Philly hates us that much. Before I get any further into it, though, Hilary, what did you think of the move?
I was shocked too. I mean, I didn't expect it, but I was happy about it. I know that much. I just knew. I never got comfortable, like I said, but I got more comfortable when he came into the game. But I was definitely shocked. Like you said, no injuries. It was just like they appeared to be playing as if they were trying to win. So all of a sudden they put him in. I was confused also.
You know, to me, my way of thinking with it, and I want to hear your guys' take on this, is I'm thinking that Pedersen, of course, has his job security. You know, he's having a meeting with Hilary in a couple days. He obviously, his job is secured. Wentz is out of the building. Everybody knows that. Wentz wants a trade. Wentz is gone. You got your guy in Hurts. I think he wanted to show Hugh a little something that Hurts isn't there yet, but he can compete against a top 5 defense in the National Football League. I think they were trying to show Hilary a little bit of something. Keith, what is your take on that? Do you think there's like some conflicting things with ownership, or was he trying to practically save his job, or what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, he knew he already had his job. I mean, that was announced, and their DC was the one that's calling it quits, you know, at least for next year. So I don't think he was worried about any of that. I think at the end of the day, I think the owner was in his, Jeffrey Lurie was, you know, in his ear saying, you know, hey, let's go out and, you know, play and compete, but, you know, let's not go out and win if we have to, if that means that we're going to get a better draft selection. You know, that's my opinion. That's the only thing that I can even make sense of as to why they'd make that move.
I mean, yeah, and that's the thing, is that winning the East this year had huge implications for draft order. If you lose, you go from top 10, you pretty much end up in the top 10 or damn close to it. You win, you're damn near the bottom. So, I mean, there are a lot of implications there. I really don't think whoever won or lost the division really was a loser. I mean, you get good draft position, or if you're on the other side of it, you win the division. And, you know, honestly, what really scared me about this, you know, Sudfeld comes in, immediately throws a pick to Jeremy Reeves, first career interception, tells you everything you need to know, and an absolute duck. You know, we're like, oh my God, you know, they're just going to play keep away. Gibson, everybody are just going to milk the clock out, time possession. You go to the Sudfeld pick, then you go to the Alex interception, then you go to the Sudfeld fumble, then you go to the Alex almost fumble. It was just a complete, it was just a complete mess. So, I mean, even when the Washington football team was given to them on a silver platter, they still couldn't do it. And that's what scares me more than anything heading into next week in Tampa Bay. My expectations already aren't high, but still. But I got to say this. You already know the narrative the Giants players are playing, Keith. I'll start with you. Do they really hate the Giants that much?
No. They hate the Cowboys.
Yeah. I don't understand why Julian Love, all these Giants players are trying to take that narrative. I really don't. This is simply down to draft selection. Hilary, before we move on, do you feel like that move really was just about draft selection, or is there any other reason that you think
they were totally decision? Yeah, it was he was totally tanking at the end of the game. I mean, there's no other answer. I mean, just because they were playing so hard and so well at the first part of the game, yeah, they were tanking.
You know, not only that, heading into this matchup, I think a lot of people are expecting this to get out of hand early. You've got Fletcher Cox, Derek Burnett, Deshaun Jackson, all these guys out, and to see Washington barely edge them out should, quite frankly, scare the shit out of anyone who has any high expectations for next weekend. It really should.
I think that's why I'm not excited, because I mean, yes, we're going to the playoffs and it's kind of a feel-good story with everything that's happened, but next week is going to be.
Yeah, the problem with that though is, Parker, is you got guys that don't want to pay attention to the reality. They're more of, I bleed burgundy and gold until I'm dead and cold. Well, die, because it's just, life isn't that way. It just doesn't work that way. And so you got these guys, let's go, we're gonna get this W. No, the fuck we're not. Like, let's just be honest, we're not. We're not gonna go in and beat Tom Brady. It's not happening. It's just not. They are a better team, than we are. And I never want to say that we should tank, but again, 7-9 in a terrible division. We win the division title. It's very difficult for someone like me to get excited about that. Not just because this happened a few years ago, but at the end of the day, we didn't even have a 500 record. So, and I personally, I have no hope going into next week. Now, am I going to sit with everyone else and hope that they win? Absolutely. I mean, I'm not going to sit there and hope for them to fucking lose, but also at the same time, I'm glass half empty, man. You gotta be. Yeah, you have to be. And I just look at this situation where people just want to get excited, about winning a division, but how can you? I mean, how can you get this excited? Because it's the first time that we've done it in several years. We did it with a 7-9. The fucking division was trash years ago when we did it. And what happened? Again, we go in, play the Packers, and we get thumped, a fucking exit right out of the playoffs. You don't think that this is going to happen again? And like I said, is there benefits this time to last time? Yeah, because you got a young team now. And again, these guys don't give up. And that is something that I do appreciate. And that is the fucking difference this year between, that team back in the Cousins days when they did it. Right. And we got a coach that they believe in, we got a young team that wants to win. They want to be here. And you got defensive guys supporting offensive guys and vice versa. I mean, it's definitely a different culture. So there's a benefit of hitting the playoffs. I just hope that these guys don't go in thinking that they, that we're just going to take this game, because it ain't happening.
No, I mean, you have to play practically perfect football to beat Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Not only are they just a better team across the board on the roster, you got Bruce Arians, phenomenal head coach, whatever people think about him, that's beside the point. They have a super team over in Tampa Bay right now, and Washington's going to have to play a perfect game if they even want to edge out or even remotely have a chance to win that contest. But I'm glad you brought up 2015. Because in 2015, I felt very reminiscent of how I feel now. You look over at the Dallas Cowboys, they're just exiting the Romo stage. They're starting, I want to say Kellen Moore was the starter in the Week 17 matchup. You got the Philadelphia Eagles, who had Sam Bradford under center. You got Eli Manning picking his fucking nose. He can't play quarterback to save his life. That was way past his prime. So you had a team that really just squeaked in. And this is the same exact thing. Was I happy about it? Sure. You got to get the fans excited every once in a while. But to me, this does have a little bit of a different feel because of all the things you just said, Keith. You're a well-tenured fan. You knew in 2015 they didn't have a lot of young building blocks. On this team, you got guys like Chase Young, Cam Curl, Terry McLaurin, Logan Thomas. You have all these guys who on very team-friendly deals, and we'll be back in burgundy and gold next year. And if Rivera can make, a man out of a molehill here and turn this football team into, I guess, playoff contenders, no matter how you want to chop it out, then there is hope. This is for the culture, as I was saying. Yeah. Hilary, let's look forward to this weekend. How do you see the matchup against Tampa Bay playing out? And what are the things that you think Washington football team fans can be excited about moving into next season?
There's a lot to be excited about. I mean, like you've already said, the young players that want to be here, the new coach, the culture has changed dramatically. I mean, I think the day Bruce Allen left was when everything just started changing. We have the nest. We just need a few key pieces, a quarterback, but before we didn't even have, the nest, if you will. We didn't have these young players that are on friendly contracts who want to be there. People want to be in Washington. That hasn't been that way forever. People are going to be drawn to come to Washington just because of what they have been doing with the young players. But I think the nest is there, and if we add a few more pieces, we will be contenders. Maybe not next year, but the year after. And it doesn't have to. We don't have to have a high draft pick to add those pieces. I mean, look at McLaurin. What was he? 3rd round pick. Cam Curl. What was he, like 4th round? You know what I'm saying? So it's like the draft position thing for me doesn't even matter anymore because we've drafted high. I mean, Chase Young, yes, absolutely. But Josh Doxson, whatever the
we took Montez Sweat after Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so. I think there's some gems that can be found even in free agency, maybe, but we're on the right track, and we haven't been for a long time. And it's always been saying, oh, next year. No, really, this time, maybe next year. So,
2018, we start off 6-3. You see Alex go down. You see us absolutely collapse. My fandom took a swift kick to the nuts, and I'm just like, Bruce Allen's never going anywhere. This team is not trying whatsoever. We're a year removed from Jay Gruden and all those guys finally leaving. And to me, it's good to see Rivera kind of come in and nut up or shut up and push this team to this point. You got a bunch of young building blocks. You got a lot of, like you said, the whole draft stock thing, draft position really doesn't matter to me either. This is a team that's going to have to bid in the offseason and bring in some big free agents. And I do think them, becoming a household team name with guys like Chase Young is going to help them do that. To me, this year was a detox. And this really is a culmination of all of it. You got Haskins, you got Snyder's last pick finally out of the fucking building. All that drama's over with. You got the culmination of Alex's Cinderella story. Alex is just the 5th quarterback in NFL history to lead 3 different teams to the playoffs. So, comeback player of the year. This is a perfect way to cap the Alex Smith story. You got the young pieces. This is the start of something great for the Washington football team, no matter what happens in Tampa Bay next weekend. And I think that's what people really need to not get lost in translation here, no matter what happens. Because you're going to have the national media come in our throats. You're going to have them say, oh, you guys suck. The NFC East is garbage. Who cares who wins? You did all this just to lose to Tom Brady. No matter who made it, they were getting their ass whooped by Tom Brady.
Right. Let's be real. If it was Dallas or Philly or the Giants, we would be talking shit like, oh, you won a shitty ass division, good for you. But we won it. So
yeah, exactly. And there is something to be said about that. And that is something Rivera and this coach staff can be excited about after all the bullshit, cancer, strippers, all of it led to this.
Guys, do you remember guys? There's so much shit that's happened. So it's like, I think I tweeted earlier, we've already won. We doubled our wins we doubled our wins from last year. Just everything I was there, that they've overcome, is a win.
Our losses weren't even that bad either.
No, within 7 and most of them. Lions game winnable. A lot of those games winnable.
Giants games were winnable. I mean, there was a lot of those games were winnable. But anyway, and
early in the season, there were plenty of question marks. And, whenever a team is successful, you guys have been around, whenever a team is successful, nobody can just be fucking happy about it, right? All day leading into this game, people are arguing on Twitter. I legitimately do not understand it. You've got people that are pulling up stuff that happened earlier in the season. These are the guys that said Kyle Allen was a suitable option at quarterback. These are people that wanted Dwayne Haskins to succeed. This fan base is at odd and at will against each other. Keith, before I go to the fan questions, I'm going to ask you, how do you feel about those type of fans? You said you're half glass full. How do you feel about those type of fans?
I love those fans.
I'm one of those fans. No, I'm just kidding.
I am one of those fans. I like to instigate it. I mean, I'll argue all day. That's why you'll see me, when I see a bunch of people, something's happened in the world of, Washington football team. And I'm right in the middle of that, just stirring the pot. And notice too, I'll stir the pot and I'll back off and I'll let everyone else argue just so I can read their arguments and just sit back and laugh, and then later on I'll give my opinion. And a lot of times I like to go with the unpopular opinion, just because this fan base, listen, we're all damaged here, right? at the end of the day, maybe not so much you because you're a little bit younger,
but
potentially.
we've been PTSD. It's all of it.
Yeah. Us old folks, man, we got to see the glory days, as everyone calls them. Like, fuck out of here. They're not glory days. They were fucking Super Bowl wins. How about that? Which we have not had in fucking 25 plus fucking years. So yeah, we're damaged. And yeah, I'm going to sit on Twitter and stir the pot with these people because, I got 15, 16, and 17-year-olds who are coming in talking all this shut up. Shut up. You weren't even born when I was going through this traumatic. So don't, these are the people that are like, oh, he's a fake fan. Bitch, you're 15. Shut the fuck up. You're 15.
I said the same thing to somebody today. I was like, all right, boomer, what the fuck ever. Keep it moving.
Right. I get called a boomer, and you know what? I laugh about it, but I'm like, truthfully, at the end of the day, we're as a fan base, we are beat the hell up. And
Stockholm syndrome.
Right. And listen, we all want the same thing. We just all go about it differently. People like to be magnets towards whatever it is that they feel passionate about. That's why we have this, man, I wish I would have been on Twitter before RG3 just to see what that was even like, because that's about when I hopped on and, became like getting involved with, Redskins Twitter and seeing what that was like. And I'm glad it did because it's grown through the years, but man, I wasn't expecting to fall in love with this guy and then, pick my guy. And then it was my guy versus that guy. And, I'm not going to lie. I like that. Like, I want it to be Alex Smith versus Heineke. Let's do something. Even though Heineke ain't going to do shit, but we're going to pretend that he was because he looked a little good at the end of that, last game. And, now we think that this guy is going to come in and, will potentially give us miracles. But, back to the original statement, we're just a battered fan base, so we're going to argue. It's just, take me out of the equation. We're going to argue. That's just what it is because we want our guy, whoever that may be, to be successful. And when they're not, it's like it's a punch to the gut. And then you think that, because you've liked this guy for so long, you don't think this guy can come in and actually do anything. And then you got everybody arguing it. But, listen, at the end of the day, I mean, we're division champs. And, like you said, I think mostly what us fans are looking for now at this point is just consistency. Be competitive. Just be competitive.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
In 25 plus years, we were competitive maybe twice, 3 times. We're just be competitive. I'm not asking you to go out and win Tom Brady Super Bowls here in a row, but what I am is I'd like to see us be competitive in a good team with some Super Bowl chances before I fucking die. 41 years. I'm 41 years old.
To play or don't want to face like, oh shit, we have Washington next week. Just that would be good.
Right. But, I mean, I'm 41 years old. I probably got a good 10 years left in me before I'm dead. So, just give me something. Can I have something? Consistently. Thanks. Appreciate it.
No matter what's being written in the Washington Post, I think that they have the right guy to kind of be like, Dan, stay in your fucking yacht.
Right.
Leave me alone and let me run this fucking football team. You have that guy. He is there. He has instilled the culture year one. Might not lead to a fucking Super Bowl, but who gives a shit? You took a step in the right direction. And I'm glad you said that about the fan base, Keith. If you aren't like that, if you don't like to stir the pot, you don't like to keep it going, you don't need to fucking be here. Period. You are not going to last. Even in 2018, my girl's trying to make me be a fucking Pats fan, trying to buy me a Julian Edelman jersey. Like, come over here. We don't deal with that shit over here, honey. I can get you a Julian Edelman jersey. I can get you this, I can get you that. And I just couldn't give up. It doesn't matter how many times Dan Snyder smacked me across the face. I keep buying this shit. I keep repping it. I didn't even witness the glory days. I didn't even see the good stuff. I've seen none of it. So honestly, mine's enhanced, but I still respect you guys' trauma. And I think the moral of the story here is that we still have something to look forward to. And I think it started with Bruce Allen leaving his fucking cubicle. That was the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Now we're in a position, we're drafting young football players. We're building for the future. We're getting distractions like Simba, whatever the fuck he calls himself, out of the building. We're finally doing all the right things. I don't care how much Tom Brady slaps us in the fucking face this weekend. At the end of the day, this season was a step in the right direction. I don't like to be rah-rah, Keith. We'll call this the fucking rah-rah pod, whatever you want to call it. But that is something the Watch Football Team fans can be rah-rah about. I think that's a safe thing to say.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. There's nothing rah-rah about that. That's absolute facts.
Yeah. Hilary, any closing statements before we move on to fan questions, cap the show?
No, I totally agree. I said if we lost today, that it would still be a winning season in my eyes, just because of the strides that they've made. So
yeah.
And with all the Stockholm syndrome, man, you got people like Julie Donaldson fighting the good fight. Haskins gets cut, and there's a million memes about him. She's like, guys, don't be a part of the problem. But she's getting involved in a wife-beater relationship off jump, coming into this fan base, telling us to not overreact or have an opinion on this after all the shit we've been through. I feel sorry for her. I think everybody I've had on the show, everybody who has dealt with everything up to this point, has dealt with it perfectly for all the shit that has happened within the last 365 days. It's been like a Lifetime movie, dude. I've been doing Brawl for like 278 days now. The summer was ridiculous. We had something to talk about every single week. And honestly, just to see it come back full circle and come back to being about football, I think that's something that your generation, my generation, everybody can just kind of unite in.
It feels good. Yeah. I mean, even as shitty as 7 and 9 is, it feels good after everything we've been through to be here.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, and I was gonna say I would agree with that whole statement. I mean, I understand the point behind what Julie was saying, but this is not a fan base that's gonna look the other way and continue to rah for the Washington football team. I mean, even the younger fan base, we've all been through some shit just within the past 5-10 years, and it doesn't work that way. I mean, when you got videos of your coach out smoking cigarettes, sitting crisscross applesauce with some college chick, yeah. Whatever, it could have been weed. I don't at this point, but my man was definitely in a situation that it looked weird. And you want us to look away from that? We can't do that. Dwayne Haskins at a strip club. All right, whatever. He's at a strip club after a loss. I mean, people are like, well, there's nothing wrong with what he did. Okay, I understand that point of view, but a leader doesn't go to a strip club after a loss. A leader's going to go prove to his coach, who has already had some issues, prove to his coach that, hey, listen, I'm here to look at film. I'm here to study. And, I understand that that's not something that's going to happen right after a game, but, you got to make smart decisions, and it just wasn't happening. So as a fan base, we're battered by all this TMZ drama that goes on. You can't look the other way. So I understand the premise, but sorry, that ain't going to happen. We're in the circus show, baby, whether Bruce Allen is here or not. The circus show is going to happen until we start consistently winning. Winning cures everything. We continue to win. We continue to be consistent. We continue to be competitive. No one's caring. And guess what? It's proven. That Daniel Snyder story is still out with all this extortion and all this stuff is going on. And guess what? That wasn't even top news through the week of Twitter. Not many people talked about that. And that's actually kind of a big story that's going on. And a lot of people want resolve out of it. And not that I don't think that it's important, but again, it's proven if you win and you're consistent and you're competitive, people are not going to pay attention to that off the wall TMZ shit. They're going to let that be handled and take care of closed doors. So it is what it is.
And to me, that's the biggest thing, is that Rivera having to deal with his own issues with cancer and all this other stuff. Yeah. I think if he executes this season in any other different way, if he lets this shit drag out Haskins and doesn't put in Kyle Allen, we're talking about a different outcome here. If he doesn't let Haskins go and Haskins starts this game, we're talking about a different outcome here. The guy did not get it done, and Rivera's no bullshit attitude is going to be completely essential into cutting all the bullshit out of Ashburn. This is, and that's another thing. When he was hired, he's like, this is a multi-year process, people. This is something that's not going to happen overnight. This is something that we're going to have to work on, and you're going to have patience with me. And everyone rolls their eyes at that. But that is the God honest truth. This is years and years of damage. The organization's being run like a fucking Hooters. And credit to all these people who've come in and tried to make an astounding difference year one, but they have an uphill battle to climb. So enough of that. Let's go on to fan questions. You two are very popular on Washington Football Team Twitter, of course, as you can imagine. A slew of questions, a bunch of hitting on Hilary, a bunch of man-shaming Keith. I slimmed it down, and I got a couple questions. Are you guys ready?
Sure.
Let's do it.
Okay, so I'll go and hit this one first. This is for both of you. looking on to next year, how do you see the draft playing out for the Washington football team, and what positions do we target? Hilary, we'll start with you.
We need a tight end. We need an offensive. We need some more offensive. I can't even talk. Offensive linemen. I don't know. Where do we draft at? We don't know until after the playoffs. I'm asking stupid questions.
I think it's 18, 19. I'm not positive, Keith. Yeah. Off the top of your head?
I would take I don't want a wide receiver because it's so up to me. I get to choose. I don't want a wide receiver that high, but I think we need an offensive lineman. Although Logan, we need another tight end too.
Logan Thomas hasn't earned your tight end one love yet.
He's actually done really well. But he can't do it alone. I think we need another one. But he's made big strides.
You got Kyle Pitts from Florida looking mouth-watering right there. That's a guy that could compliment him pretty well. And, the offensive line, I don't know if you guys caught the graphic on Sunday Night Football. I rarely listen to what they're saying, but I couldn't help but see the graphic of how all these guys graded out on PFF. Keith, do you agree with the sentiment of needing offensive linemen, or what would you target?
I wouldn't target offensive line at first. I actually – it's kind of draft is tough because you have to have a game plan of what you're going to do with free agency.
And you're not going to have Kyle Smith. Period.
Right. And you have to know what you want to do in free agency. And again, that's a guessing game too, because the player doesn't have to choose to come. And, so it becomes hit or miss. But if I had to guess, obviously in the first few rounds of the draft, we're definitely going to look at, we need to look at, drafting some depth. One thing that I can say, this team actually got some depth in from free agency, but also draft. And if you notice, a lot of our injuries, it's improved. We were a depleted team that did not have
didn't know how to practice.
Right, 100%. And did you lose me?
Oh no, you're good. Keep going.
Right, my bad. Basically what I was saying is that I think this draft here, obviously, you're going to want to target and take a look at who's available in the quarterback class. And I'm not saying that has to be first round, but you're going to have to look at who's in the quarterback class, see who can come in. And I think that you definitely concentrate on depth. Who's going to replace, Kerrigan? Who's going to replace Chase when they're tired? A lot of people don't think about that. Depth is super important. So I think that you focus on getting your pieces in free agency that is going to make a difference. And then you look at your draft guys as when you're drafting at, the 18th position, if that's where, we end up selecting. I think you really focus on your first couple rounds as potential starters and the rest being depth guys.
I do like your piece there about picking up people throughout free agency. Our corner class is absolutely depleted. Our best corner last year was Josh Norman. We go and get Ronald Darby. Fabian Murray. A couple people immediately start contributing. There's depth across the board. First round draft pick. I do like Hilary. I like what she said about the tight ends. I think that you do need another piece. You got to take a guy like Kyle Pitts there if he's there. He's a dynamic playmaker. Honestly, should be in the Heisman race. I don't know why he's not. Definitely deserves it over Trask. But that's another conversation for another day. To me, you really need to target quarterback and linebacker. I think you're going to have to take a QB early. If you want one of these big guys like Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Lawrence Fields off the board. Everybody knows how that goes. This organization is not trading up. We all know that. You're bringing Marty Hurney in here. He's not going to make any big baller moves. So you're going to have to take those middle of the pack guys. And the middle of the first round is really when you can get one of those linebackers. John Bostic, Cole Holcomb, credit them, Kevin Pierre-Louis, all of them played exceptional football this year, but you need that athlete at middle linebacker, and we don't know whether Reuben Foster can be that guy or not. I think at this point he's an afterthought of this organization. If he comes in and pans out, that's great, but I do like your answer, depth. I think depth is what the Washington football team needs to go after. Let's move on to the next question, kind of an intense one. This is coming from the HTWR podcast. Ask why Keith is a D-bag, and ask Hilary when is she going to come talk Santana Moss with us? Now, whoever wants to answer first can go.
Ladies first.
Anytime. I would love to talk Santana. I have always loved Santana. So anytime. I think actually I kind of shitted on them. I think I was supposed to be on with them tonight too. So I have to make that up to them. But anyway.
I'm sure you will. You're making your podcast around. You keep finally getting around to it.
I'm building
people what they want.
No, I'm just kidding. No, anytime. Santana Moss. What was the other one? Keith is a douchebag. I'll let him answer that.
Well, I did tweet that if we won, I'd let everybody on Twitter know that I'm a douchebag, and I'm pretty sure that we didn't need to win for people to figure that out. Listen, it's what I do. I like to throw the ball.
I hate to cut you off. Immediately with you, the first thing I always think of is that fucking JP Finley call. That's always the first thing I think of. I tell anybody about you, that's the first thing I say. It's just, I've never heard JP that mad, ever.
So what a lot of people don't realize was that was the whole point.
Yeah.
The whole, I wasn't going to throw the guys under the bus, but in that cast, he didn't even know I was there, and I was asking questions. I asked questions. It wasn't until they mentioned KG Skins 26 that he realized, oh, that's that douchebag. And so the idea was to get him so triggered. And I didn't even have to do anything but say, hey, JP, you want to be friends again? Or whatever it was that I said.
I hate to go on a tangent here. Where was this at? How did this all play out? Because I never really heard the full story.
All right. So long story short, I don't want to bore folks, but long story short, he had mentioned something about Haskins. And the way that he formulated the tweet was to put Haskins – oh man, and this guy is in a bad light now, but back then when we were all supporting Haskins and like, oh, this dude's not so bad, why is everyone here goes the media attacking him, and I'm always against the media, so whatever their opinion is, it's a guarantee I'm against it. And even if I agree with it, I'll still be against it. Just won't tell them that I agree with it. But anyways, long story short, he formulated a tweet that I thought was a clickbait tweet against Haskins. And so I called him out on it. And then another guy got in on it, where we both got in on it. And he pretty much from that point told us off, on Twitter. I forget what the tweet was. And so I got asked if I wanted to be, on a guest appear on a podcast. And I'm like, sure. And so they literally told me on the phone call right before the show that JP was going to be on. And I'm like, oh, okay. So how do you want me to handle this? And they're like, just do whatever you want. And
they shouldn't have said that shit.
Right. Well, here was the thing. So like, I was kind of weirded out by this situation, because it's like, it's their connection. He's obviously on their podcast because he's cool with them. So I didn't quite know how to take this.
You don't want to be that guy.
I don't want to be that guy. Exactly.
You're a troll.
So, right. So like, I was willing to like, I was willing to have a good conversation with JP. Until I immediately realized he wasn't trying to have a good conversation when he completely when I say he threw me in a fire, he threw me in a fire.
It was crazy.
Oh, and it was hilarious.
Yeah.
And so when I realized that he was that heated, that's when I just kept, pushing the button for him to continue. And he literally roasted me, on the show. And I was cool with it, because my whole intent was to get him all worked up. That's all I wanted to do at that point, was get him worked up, let him do his thing. But I also didn't want to burn the ties, the connections with what these guys, had with him either. So, they set me up. They set him up, and it is what it is,
That was just I got a crazy situation. I never really heard the story on both sides. As you know, I had JP on the show last week. He's pretty cool with me, cool Mitch, Pete, all those guys.
Yeah.
No bad blood there. Good relationship with them. But it's just something that was an immediate head turn. I think that was one of the first times I'd ever heard you. And I was like, man, he's getting under JP's skin. And, JP's a guy that, came on the show last week. Was like, I don't see Twitter. Twitter's not real. They see everything we're saying, man. It's a lot.
That's what it was.
Than you think. Lock and Fora, Jason Reed. I've gotten responses from both of them, man. Everybody's human, and I'm sure covering this team definitely is not easy, but I digress. Let's move on to the next question. Question for both of you. Let's go and just get this out of the way. I told myself I wouldn't give into the thirst traps, but I guess I'll entertain this one. Do either one of you have an OnlyFans account? Yes or no?
I should.
All right, that's Keith.
No answer. No, I'm just kidding. I don't.
All right, people. You asked enough. You got your answer, okay?
They're all in my fleets now. I don't need it anymore. I'm just kidding.
All right, let's move on. Fight for DC at New Era Culture says, do you guys think that he should get a tattoo of Tressway kicking his ass?
Yes.
Now, what way does he mean kicking his ass? Does he mean that
like kicking
ass is the football?
Right, right. That's what I'm picturing. Like, him punting his ass.
I mean, it sounds fucking amazing, Keith.
Oh, I agree, because I wanted a Jesus tattoo on my leg playing Wii bowling. So, I mean, Tressway kicking someone's ass is pretty cool, too.
Dude, Wii bowling was exhausting. Wii boxing, I look like Conor McGregor in like the 6th round against Mayweather. I'm worn out. I haven't done the cardio. That stuff really wears you down, man. So respect that extreme sport. Keith, you already know we're going out with you. At LB, I cannot say his name, and it's okay because he cannot spell. Why is Keith such a negative Nancy on the Washington football team? I feel like we've kind of encapsulated this a little bit, but what's your quick answer on that?
Quick answer: 25 plus years of losing will turn you this way. At least it will for me. So until I see a difference, this is just the way it is. I'm half empty until you start filling my cup. So wins fill my cup, and until then, I'm not going to shut the fuck up.
They fill your cup, and it seems like both of you have had a lot to drink tonight, especially Hilary.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm good though. I'm drinking water.
I'm a little buzzed myself. I'm going to put a uncensored label or something. This one is not for children. If you made it this far, we appreciate you. But we'll go to the final question. What now? Keith, you're a glass half full guy. You don't like celebrating all the little stuff. You don't congratulate fish for swimming. But in all of your years of being a fan, all your years of being fans, what is the craziest way you've ever celebrated a win?
Ladies first.
God, it's been so freaking long. What did you say, Keith?
I said ladies first.
Oh, the craziest way I've celebrated a win.
Correct.
I don't know. I probably cried. I don't know. It's been so freaking long. I really don't have a crazy way that I remember because it's been so freaking long.
I saw somebody's grandpa running butt ass naked down the street after we beat the Steelers, and I'm like, you guys are capping that much for.
I'm too old for that shit. And I there's really nothing crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I was in middle school when we hit the Super Bowl, so I wasn't doing any of that crazy shit now. But I'm telling you, we get a Super Bowl win within the next 5 years, and I'm hanging my dong out the window.
I'm getting the old fans if we win. No, I'm just kidding. I'm
hanging my dong out the window, playing the Hell of the Redskins song, and I don't care who sees it. I mean, that's about as crazy as I can get at this point.
I mean, you said 5 years. I thought you said you only had 10. I don't know. It's going down more and more.
Well, I'm gonna die soon, so I've been wanting to hang my dong out the window and chant "Hell to the Redskins" to all these Eagles fans around.
Don't forget, you have to record that and post it.
Yeah, exactly. You got to keep the receipts.
Will do.
It would sound kind of weird if I said I want to see your dong at some point, but,
but you really want to see his dong.
Yeah, no. I guess I want to see Keith's dong. Thank you both so much for stopping by. It's pretty late. We're celebrating a division win. Kind of a bittersweet division win, but it's been an absolute honor. Hilary, Keith, tell the people where they can find you.
Hilary Banks. I can't even spell Hilaree Banks on Twitter and Instagram.
Give me kind of an inside scoop, Hilary. I know you're talking about possibly starting your own podcast. You starting to kick the can on that? Is that something that we should expect in the near future?
There's a good chance, but it would be off season before. Yeah, obviously we're going to the fucking playoffs. Okay, now it's kicking in. Yeah, maybe in the off season. We'll see. I don't know. There's a lot of podcasts out there. There's a lot of competition, but it would be different. It'd be
Absolutely. That's a good enough answer for me. Keith, where can people find you?
Well, you can find me in my mother's basement.
It's a nice fucking basement.
Right. That's usually where I tweet. KG Skins 26. And listen, hey, next time you tell JP I just want to be friends with him. Let's just end the feud. He flamed me. I took my loss like a man. Let him know I'm sorry, and I want to be friends. He's still a fence rider, though, but that's okay. I still want to be friends with him.
I brought him on, and it got a little testy. I kind of let him know what people thought, and it was definitely an interesting episode. I will say he can take it, and as you know, he can certainly dish it. like the fans, man, covering this team cannot be fucking easy. It's hard on everybody, man. Let's enjoy the night. Let's enjoy the win. Let's ride off into the sunset because essentially our season's over now. Let's be happy about it, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Go. Perfect. Like I said, thank you guys so much for coming on. Can't wait to have you on again.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
That is all the time
Keith, don't forget what you have to do.
What'd you say?
I said, Keith, don't forget what you have to do.
What do I have to do?
What we talked about before we started recording.
Oh, I got your back on that for sure.
Don't say too much. We're still on air.
Anyway.
That is all the time we have on Washington Brawl tonight. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at Washington Brawl. You can find this episode and other episodes of Washington Brawl wherever podcasts can be found: Spotify, Spreaker, Apple Podcasts. We have it everywhere. Make sure you leave a 5-star review or just a review in general. We appreciate any input. You can also find the Washington Brawl podcast on our official YouTube channel at Washington Brawl. You can also find our Madden 21 Game of the Week series. Head over to www.brawlnetwork.com. Check out our articles. Pick up some merchandise. This Saturday, man, we head into a war zone against, like I said, the fucking Avengers in Florida. So it's going to be interesting. We're going to come to you guys, a couple more special guests heading into next week. But as far as this episode is concerned, enjoy the win. NFC East Champions. This has been the Washington Brawl Podcast presented by the Brawl Network. Peace.
Yay. Bye.